So, since I've always been quite open about my own healing journey and um, it, things about the subconscious and patterns, and I'm always talking about those things and doing videos on them and such, I figured I would talk about how deep this stuff can go and how much of a journey can be involved with it. And sometimes it's like, even though you get what's happening or you understand it, you don't really get it until you get it, I mean, um that's something that I just realized and experienced myself. I had like a huge aha moment just recently, and it um I'll just explain the situation. It's pretty in depth and pretty um detailed and vulnerable. This is pretty intense. Um, but I'm going to share it because I think it's important for people to understand how long this can take, or um, how many times you can pass by the same thing and not really truly get it until you get it, and what all comes along with that. So, when I was a kid, I kind of always had feelings and knew that I like something was different with me, that I liked women. This hair's doing. And so when I was 15, I found another one like me. And this was in 1994, 95. So this was like, back in the day, before it was cool to be bisexual, even, or anything like that. So there wasn't many people that knew about it. And, I didn't even recognize what was happening with me. I just knew that another person felt the same way I did. And so her and I had a connection and had, said, oh, well, we're going to do this. We're going to make out. We're going to have this dating relationship thing going on. And so, um, I told my mom about it and my dad and my grandparents, and they were like, okay, but she told her parents, or they had found out, and that was not okay. So this had to be a hidden relationship. So program number one, I have to be hidden as I am. Put that into the 15-year-old brain. Okay. Second thing that happened through this interaction was, we were very in love and very into each other and wanted to be together, but then we had to do this hiding and sneaking. And, she had to do a lot of covering up, by going out on dates with boys and going to formal dances with them and etc. But, she also was probably confused just as I was at the time. And, she would, you know, kiss the boys, make out with the boys, and she was dating a boy who lived across the street from me. So as I was madly in love and had all of these feelings surfacing in my first love, I would look out the window and I would watch the person I was in love with be with a guy in front of me and choose someone else, but yet still choose me because, she would still say that she wanted to be with me, but she had to go do these other things too. So program number two, not chosen first. A guy is chosen over me. And there's always going to be me and another in the relationship, mostly me and a guy, with the girl that I'm in love with. So program that into the subconscious. See that program? I do. So, that was the whole dynamic where the woman is telling me, I love you, I want to be with you, but I need to do these other things. Program that. So I was like, okay, I'm hanging in there, hanging in there, hanging in there. Would, watch her go out with different guys, have her tell me about, sexual things that she was doing with the guys, not having sex, but sexual things. And so that would like really upset me and stress me out because I'm like, you're doing that with me, but you're also doing that with other people. Program. Sex with you is okay. Sexual things with men is okay to do at the same time. Okay. Um, and then uh, this went on for a year. And then in the second year, it was like, I was working at Burger King. There was a Burger King in Steubenville at the time. And I watched her car drive past with a guy in it. And I was just like, I can't take this anymore. Like, this is so painful. So Yeah, this is not easy. It was in that moment when I decided that I was going to do the same thing. I made a choice to stay in this situation. Sorry. I made a choice to stay in it, and I decided that I was going to shut down my heart in that moment by doing what I didn't want to do, which was go be with men myself. So I just grabbed the first person that worked with me that I could find, the first guy, and went and just slept with him and had sex with him. And that was my first experience with a guy having sex. And I just didn't care. I wasn't even attracted to them because I was in love with someone else. And um, she was doing everything but have sex with the guys. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go above and beyond. And I'm going to go actually do the thing that I'm sitting around waiting for you to do. Program that. Sitting around waiting for her to eventually have sex with the guy and fully be with him or whatever. Then, here goes the damage to my body, mind, and soul when, shut down the heart. Um, and after that, it continued. Like that was around, 17. And then I hooked up with more men and tried to convince myself that that's what I liked and that's what I wanted because that's what I can't beat them. So I might as well be with them or quote unquote join them. So um, the tides turned and she stopped seeing guys, but then I started and she hung in there with me, which probably damaged her as well in multiple ways. And while I was sleeping with men and multiple men, I remember going off to college. I was only 17 when I went to college and turned 18 to October. And I think I slept with 4 men in 2 weeks, maybe less. Um, it was all in an effort to like self-protect. It was self-abandonment. It was trying to protect myself from some kind of pain. That way, if I did above and beyond what was happening, that I was safe, I was protected. But she found out about all that, and I came home from college and tried to be in a relationship with her, but for the 3 years following that, I continued to see other people, guys and girls, just multiple people, and that was when that like detached sex started happening for me. And then like I would try to be in other relationships, like had another girlfriend who was completely wild and out there doing whatever, and I thought I could make that relationship. And I would drive by her place of work and there would be the guy that she was seeing there, and I eventually am not getting chosen because of a man again. So after that there was a string of fog for me where I went into an extremely toxic lifestyle. Um, this was probably about hot because this is hard to share. Um, Probably about age 23. I um I was with somebody who was in an active addiction and I would get her pills and drugs all the time. And I got fired from my case management job that I had with my bachelor's degree because I was showing up for work late and everything because I was trying to like please her and keep her around and such. And that was because I was like getting her drugs and trying to help her addiction. Um, so after that, I lost my job and I was like, well, what are we going to do for money? And she was like, well, we could go dance. And I'm like, all right, I've already done some side stage dancing at gay bars. Like I could go be a stripper. So I said, oh, well, I was making $9 an hour at the case management job with a bachelor's degree. And I decided to go. And then the first night I worked, I made $430 on a Saturday night, which was like almost my whole paycheck for 2 weeks of working 8 hours a day. So I said, fuck, this is great. So then began that lifestyle, and that lasted for 7 years. Time I was 23 till the time I was about 31, somewhere in there. And during that period of time, I tried to have relationships with women in that period of time. One I had with a sociopath narcissist, which was absolutely abusive and toxic. There was lots of drug use involved, wild lifestyles of dancing and stripping and bachelor parties, and I had mass amounts of sex with endless amounts of men and women, and was completely detached from any feeling and emotion and intimacy whatsoever. I just thought of sex as putting on your socks or taking them off. I tried to have deep connections with other girls who were doing the same thing I was. The sociopathic narcissist who I purchased a house with was also a dancer, who was 8 years older than me, who kind of like took me under the wing and influenced me even further. So that was super toxic, and I was brainwashed. My body was completely detached from who I was. I, did cocaine. I, sold it. I, sold my body a couple of times for, what I thought was a great amount of money, but it was just sex that I had detached from like real true love and true self way back when I was a kid. And this was like the most demonstrative display of what that did. So I tried to get out of that lifestyle, and I gained like weight, and I was with another girl who I got engaged to and decided, oh yeah, I'm going to be with you and we're going to have a life, and we had a house and everything. And then but I was always had this perpetual waiting for the woman to leave me for a guy, or to decide that she didn't want me because it wasn't enough as I was. So eventually, those things we would break up for other reasons, but then they would end up with men, and I'd be like, see, that's the story. That's the story. So I always thought that that was the main story, that I had to change my perception around men and like what happened to me around that in order to accept them more, right? Or to accept women being with them and things like that. So that was always what I was trying over the past few years to get out of the woundedness from and the mindset of. So, I went into my spiritual awakening in 2012, and, everything changed for me. There were no more drugs. There was, I had to feel everything. I had to heal stuff. My mother died tragically, all at the same time. I got off of Fexer. I could feel all the things, and I had a massive like awakening. Now, that didn't really change these dynamics too much around the relationships, because then I got into a relationship where I could actually feel things again, and it was even 10 times harder than that I could ever imagine anything to be. So I got with a person who had been connected to before in major toxicity, and then I reconnected with this person, but it was like the same dynamic would happen. I would get with a girl who had a boyfriend. She would leave the boyfriend, be with me, and then ultimately we would break up, and then she would go be with guys again. So it just was this whole pattern that I was like, oh my God, how do I stop this fucking pattern? And I just thought I had to work on myself and what I needed to change around my mindset about men, because I enjoyed being with men too. Like, I didn't ever have love or deep feelings for them, but I enjoyed the sexual aspect, the friendships, and the connection. I was never a man hating lesbian. And I convinced myself a couple of times that I could be with them and that I could have a relationship with them, but it wasn't true. It wasn't where my heart was. So after my relationship breakup in 2015, I was devastated, crying on my knees, so depressed. And I started the healing process and talking to like relationship coaches and therapists and Reiki and this and that. I did all the things to try to heal this root issue. So, things started showing up a little bit differently in my reality, but then I ran into another interaction, and it was like a connection and, an attraction and everything. And then ultimately it was the same thing. Like, everything's cool in the beginning, but then it ends up where we hit this point where it becomes something that I don't want to sit through and deal with and stay in. But it was like the women would be saying, hey, I love you, but there's these other things. Hey, I love you. I'm going to still stay connected to you, but I'm looking for this over here. It would always be with the men or surrounding men in some way. And I would say, okay, I'll deal with it. I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to stay. I'm going to be okay. I'll be in it and blah, blah, blah. And, then eventually they would just not choose me at all. And then that would be over and I would be devastated and back to square one. So I had another situation most recently coming up, and I was like, okay, let me analyze this. And it was also like this potential presented thing coming back into that same pattern where it was like, oh, here we are again. This person saying that they want this, and I know that I don't want to stay in that because I know that it's not good for me, it's not healthy for me, it's not what I want. What I'm wanting isn't matching what they're wanting. And so I had to make a choice, which I've never made. And the choice was to say, I have to step out of this, not wait until the choice is made for me, not wait until the person's like, yes, I'm going to go be with these men, or I'm going to go be with the men and you have to stay here because I love you, like what happened when I was 15. Just stay, but I'm going to go do this here with the men. And so since that came up so many times, the one thing I never did in any of those times was make the choice to say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to exit. I always stayed because back when I was 15, I had no idea that I had a choice. I had no clue that there was another option, partially because I was a child and I didn't know that I could ever fall in love again, partially because there were no other lesbians to speak of or anything like that. And it was all hidden, and it was 1995, 94, 96. And I had no idea that I had a choice, that even though love and connection were present, that the situation wasn't of what I was desiring and wanting and of my highest best good, didn't give me self-respect, self-love, and or priority or choosing me fully. So I didn't choose myself fully. I just kept choosing someone who wasn't choosing me fully and saying that I have to be in that. So it wasn't until now, at age 43, from age 15, that I realized that it was about the choice, not about my having to get used to whether the women I'm connected to loving men, not that I had to go force myself to love men, not that I had to detach and just have empty sex because it was easier that way so that I could deal with women that I'm connected with being with men. It was none of those things. It was that I had to break the pattern of not choosing myself, break the pattern of not making the choice to leave because had no clue that I could make that choice. And so when that was brought to my attention, I wrote a couple things down. I was like, holy fucking shit. It took tears, pain, suffering, mass amounts of loss, what I feel like has been wasted years of my life, in order to just now realize that it was about I couldn't make a different choice. That was the big program that I wasn't able to like move past or delete. I tried all the other ways, and it wasn't until now that I realized that that's the only thing that I hadn't been doing. So I had recently made that choice to say, I can't do this. I can't go back into that same dynamic, or even potentially, like even if it wasn't on the table right now or happening right now, I didn't want to get to that point to say, all right, well, I can see that this isn't aligned right now with where I'm at and what I want to do, but I can't choose to ride the wave still and to see what happens. I have to make a different choice consciously. And even though being in love, I didn't wait to get abandoned and rejected or pushed aside or used up, or everybody's that was done with me then said, here, I'm done with you, now you don't have a choice. And I always waited because I never knew I could make the choice. So this is how deep that these subconscious patterns can go, and it can take literal years to realize it to this point. I questioned all the things throughout these years, like, am I transgender? Is this just because I'm not a guy? Is this some past life thing that I was a man in so many past lives that I don't know how to, to be with a woman who's gay because I'm with straight women because they, I feel more like a man inside and maybe I should become trans. But none of that was true. Like, it's just that I didn't know how to choose what I wanted for myself. And to admit what I wanted for myself is okay. That, it's okay to want just one person to be with. It's okay to want someone who's open to fun and connection, which I am open towards. Like, I'm not saying I would never be with a guy again or that I don't desire to have fun things in the sexual realm, because I do, with the foundation of a partner who's with me, not who's not choosing me, not who's out there saying, I'm choosing this first, not who's out there saying, I'm choosing this and you equally. No, you know, and so I realized that that's the point that I never got to. And I'm so grateful to get to this point. But I mean, it took years of unlayering and work, and I'm pissed because it took so long. And now I'm able to stand in the truth of what I want. I'm able to make decisions, which are very hard. I mean, to make that decision based on that doesn't take away the feelings that I feel for the person, doesn't take away any of the heartache of that will be there in the presence of absence and loss. It just would have been absence and loss either way. It's like, do I want to have the absence and loss after all those things happen the same way and then sit there in the same fucking miserable mindset? Or do I want to make a different choice so something different can show up in my life and in my mind and in my heart and in my body? Clearing that pattern out is the whole point of us being alive, right? And I don't know how my soul signed up to do this work. I blame all the planets in the 12th house: Venus, Mars, Moon, Uranus. Thank you very much for fucking being in the 12th house in Scorpio. That makes me go really deep and have to deal with a lot of loss and imprisonment and subconsciousness and hospitals and institutions. And it's fucking intense. But I got on my knees and I asked God, and right in front of the cross of Jesus, like, help me to see, bring me clarity, help me, because I don't see, and I don't know what to do. And I surrender, and I surrendered over and over and over. Please show me. I can't live like this anymore. I need your help. So this happened quickly after that, probably like 24 hours after my being on my knees in front of the cross and diligently praying and surrendering and just feeling all of my emotions, just saying, I'm willing to feel it all. I'm willing to feel the pain. I'm willing to change the pattern. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So before, I don't think I was willing to feel the pain of losing someone. I wasn't willing to make the choice. I always wanted it made for me. So this is changing for me. And this is why I'm a good fucking therapist. This is why I'm good at what I do, my combination of energy work and helping people break patterns and get through stuff, because I allow my patterns to be able to be seen so that they can be broken. I have willingness to be uncomfortable. I have willingness to spend mass amounts of time, days, weeks, hours of my life on myself, on this, and not try to run away from it or just keep working or just keep doing this or that to avoid it, because I'm willing to go into it as much as it takes. And I guess that's what my soul signed up to do so that I can be in the profession that I'm in. But this isn't easy and it's hard. However, my nervous system is thanking me, because my body is thanking me, being like, thank you for not putting us through this pain again, in the way that you had before. Thank you for breaking this pattern. Thank you for choosing you. The little girl inside of me at 15 is saying, thank you, for saving me, because you were just repeating that year after year. And this is no one's fault. This is not any of the people's fault that I were involved with. They have their own journeys and their own soul, learnings themselves. And I'm could contact with some of the people that I've mentioned, and they're wonderful humans and I love them so much, and they know exactly who they are and they're awesome. And I'm so grateful to, have had forgiveness and letting go. And, there were layers of that had to happen, and layers of it with some of the people that I've known for years and some of the people I've known shorter amounts of time. Like, it's great. And I just thank you for listening, and I thank you for coming to me to help solve some of your stuff. And, if you've been a part of my journey helping me, thank you so much for helping me on it. I've had amazing mentors and amazing sessions with so many of them. Lee and Sherry Patterson, Victoria Zates, Marla Kelly, um, Denny Salava, Joy Saccone. Like, I've had so many people that have helped me so much, along with my own passed away loved ones, my mother and my grandmother, and all of my friends who have had my back through this whole thing. I'm so grateful. Um, yeah. So this is it. This is 43 years old, and I have so much more life to live, and so many more awesome experiences. And I'm gonna, you know, just see what moment to moment brings. And I'm going to keep crying, and I'm going to keep having memories come up of like the pain, because all this brings up is memories. And like, I have to keep fucking purging and feeling sorry for myself and forgiving myself for what I've done to my body. Because if you knew the details of what I've done, that was just like a smidgen. Like, it's so, so bad, some of it. And it's okay, But there were some really good people that I hurt along the way that really wanted to be with me, and I just couldn't because it didn't match that story. And I am sorry to them too. And some of them hate me and never talk to me again. So I understand. But um, I'm just going to keep crying. I'm going to keep feeling, and I'm going to keep healing. This is what we do. And I'm going to keep spending time with myself. Me, myself, and I are the only people that can figure this out, not me trying to run to fill a void with a person or sex, or trying to go work out a whole bunch, or trying to run around and do a bunch of activities or throw myself into work. None of that will happen. I will sit with myself, alone with me and God and my guides and my angels, and we will just be. And when I talk to people that want to heal stuff, I tell them the same thing. You have to be able to sit with it, get a good guide, somebody to help you realize these things in a therapeutic type of way, but then you have to sit with it. Stop running, avoiding, escaping, distracting, and covering up, running to the next thing or the next person or the next event or the next drug or blah, 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 blah. Just be with it, and ask for help from your guides, the universe, God, whoever it is that you, however it is you connect, and surrender on your knees. I was on my knees on the hardwood floor. Period. Saying I'm willing. Just be willing. Just become open. Just surrender. Give it to God. You can't do this yourself. Thanks for listening.